Bought some amazing walnut slabs and I turned them into a tabletop. I don't want to say anything further, just watch my process. It was amazing. And one more thing, don't be surprised, the beginning of the video where I had the slabs was 1 year ago. I started to work then, I did not finish it because I didn't have the time. Now I got the time again and finished it. So yeah. The slabs are 52 millimeters thick, and at the lumberyard I tried to get the widest boards as possible. Speaking of that width, I'm not able to joint these boards on my jointer. They are way wider and I want to preserve as much width as possible of them. Usually I start by cutting off the live edge, joint and plane them, but I will not do it this time. This time I want to plane it first and then cut away the live edge, because I don't want to have sapwood in it and I want to preserve as much width as possible. So I want to have a plain surface, look what I have, and then cut away exactly only the sapwood. The slabs have some defects in it. As you can see, here's a pretty big crack and I won't put that into the tabletop. Here, the smaller strips, they will probably end up as the sliding dovetails to hold the top in place. Okay, let's load these slabs on my work table and then we will start working. Jointing these slabs with a router creates a huge mess. I did this for the headboard of a bed with a bigger slab and I spent 4 hours just cleaning my workshop afterwards. So I will definitely do this outside and don't worry about the dust and chips that we will create. Let's lift it nicely out of the legs. There we go. Here on these ends of the boards, I check them if they have any severe cracks in it from the drying process. I might want to cut out. On this one, there are only a few very tiny ones, so I will only cut away maybe 5 centimeters. I will double, triple, quadruple check this measurement because a mistake cutting the slab here too short would be pretty costly and would, yeah, ruin my day for sure. In order to be able to see my mark a little bit better, I stole some street crayon from my daughter and it works just nice because now I have a good contrast to the dark walnut. Okay, as you can see, the slabs are reasonably flat. We have a kind of a low spot here and a high spot here. This makes flattening the slabs and planing them much easier. If you have any wild twists or cups in it, that would make the process a lot more difficult. The slabs are all now cut to rough length, and this is the setup we will use to flatten the slabs. This might look a bit complicated and wild now, but it's actually fairly simple. Basically what we do here is we put everything on a reasonably flat surface, lift up the slab with these boards here, and then have these two boards that have coplanar tops over here to hold the sled. The sled accepts the router, has a slot in it, and we will move the slab bit by bit and thereby route the slab and joint it. To get a reasonably flat working surface, I've put this 38mm MDF sheet on top of my work table. The surface doesn't need to be dead flat because we will use these risers as winding sticks, and if there are any high or low spots, we can still account for that by lifting them up. Just take a Sharpie, a marker, whatever, and mark the very edge here. Then I like to take another color and do it on the other one. These two lines just enable us to better see if they are coplanar to each other. As you're able to see from this angle, they are pretty much parallel to each other. The red one is I think going a little bit down here. So the gap between the black and the red line here is smaller than here. Okay, this is the corner that needs to be shimmed up a little. I will simply use some pieces of tape and layer them up until I have them both parallel. Alright, that looks pretty spot on. Now we will clamp them tight and then build up the other layers. One more thing I like to mention is that these two boards, of course, have to have the same width exactly. And also the two edges have to be parallel. Alright, the slab is now on. We can see it still is not secured here. We will shim it and we will see and determine the high spots so we know where to start the flattening process. This is one of the corners where I need to add a little shim. I have some offcuts from the workshop, and now I will try which offcut is best for here. Oh, that looks quite good. Maybe a little more. There are two ways to hold the router straight on here. One way is that these two side walls are exactly flush with the router itself. So like this, and you can slide it back and forth. The other way is to use these inserts, and which can now run in the slot here. To reduce the friction between the base of the router and our jig, we can use some standard paste wax or some other lubricant. Rub a little bit on here, and this will greatly reduce the friction here. I want to start the flattening process with the high spots. I want to find the high spots and take off a little pass from them and then make my way down until I hit all of the slab. Okay, as you can see here, it's pretty small here, and yeah, this is probably our high spot here. Now I will set the router to this depth by putting the router on the jig, dropping it down like this, and lock it in place. I will start with 2 millimeters and therefore set my micro adjustment 2 millimeters deeper. Yeah, and now I can start. Okay, as you can see here, we already flattened this surface here, and now it's just a matter of working our way down 1 millimeter at a time. The ridges here left behind from the router bit are not very severe, and we can easily get rid of them with a sandpaper. Now when we flip around the slab, it's very important to take out the shim, because now this side is already jointed and it can rest easily on these two. both faces are now parallel to each other. One more thing. To get all the slabs in the same thickness, remember now the depth setting on your router. Write it down or lock it in place and you can use it for the consecutive slabs. When I make the cut here now, I try to go slow and steady to get a nice and clean result. This will also improve the glue line later on. A flatter surface makes a better glue surface and also creates a nicer glue line. Now between the last step and now there was actually 1 year of time. 1 year where I could not get the time to finish the table, but now we will. Now for the panel I decided to leave this big knot just right in the center because defects in wood are just defects. They make it pretty, they make wood awesome, and that is why I will leave it right in here and we will treat it later. Now for the actual glue up, I will use some dominoes to align the boards. I've aligned them in the way I want them to be in the panel, and I will route a few dominoes so in the glue up they won't shift on me with the glue, and yeah, just makes it a little bit easier. If you already have a domino DF500 or if you're in the market, I do have a video where I explain my 5 favorite tricks to make it even more efficient and faster, and you can find it on the top, and yeah, I think you will like it. The domino holes are in to align the panel. I also brought out the biggest Bessie bar clamps I have, and now it's just time to glue it up. Well, certainly not the best glue up strategy here, but we will make it work. Okay, one more. Okay, one more. I've let the glue dry overnight. Now we'll remove the clamps and then cut it to size with the track saw. I want to fill this knot and a few cracks over there to get a nice smooth surface. Now the whole internet is full of epoxy, but I want to use something that's more ecological. There's shellac. You might know shellac for a finish, but you can also use shellac to fill some small defects in your wood. You can get these bars of shellac in pretty much any color you like. You can also get it clear and put pigments in it and so on and so forth. Now usually shellac is pretty brittle, so you have to mix in 1 to 2% of glycerin, but these bars, they already have it in them, I think, because you cannot really break them, and I also tried with a hammer. Now I will heat up these bars in a pan to 80 to 90 degrees, they will melt, and then fill them into my defects. Here on the underside I will use a bit of clear packing tape to make sure nothing is running somewhere I don't want it to be. pretty much like melting chocolate, and now I can fill it in the cracks. The shellac is dry. Now I will use my plane blade to scrape off the excess. And what's pretty cool about that, you can remelt the remaining bits that you scrape off for another project, and you don't have to throw it away, which is pretty cool. Now let's get you close up here, because that is pretty satisfying. That's definitely out of the category, oddly satisfying, isn't it? Now, to place my belly more comfortably against the tabletop, I want to have a slight curve here on the front. Now, as you might know, I'm a pretty big fan of template routing. Why? Because with curves, you really know what you get. You can take all the time to finesse the template, or even make a new one if you really messed it up and start over. And then just clamp it to your workpiece, route along it, and you have the perfect exact copy of what you made on the template. I've already transferred my line to the tabletop, and now I will use the jigsaw to go close to my line, and then with the flush trim bit, route it flush against it. Now the template, don't look at the burn marks here, they are not there. I will send them away, of course, but that's later. Nice. Really like that curve. Yeah. For this crack, I decided to go with the bow tie inlay. I've taped them here with double-sided tape. Now I can transfer the shape to my tabletop. Then I will get rid of the majority of the waste with the router and then chisel to my line. Somehow I managed to forget to hit the record button when I pounded them in with some glue. Now, to trim them flush, I couldn't find my flush trim card saw, so I will take a normal Japanese pull saw and put a playing card under it, so the teeth or the raking of the teeth won't catch on my tabletop. Yay! Finally, everyone's favorite part of woodworking, sanding. I'm so excited. Yeah, let's get it over with. I'm so thrilled how this turned out. I'm happy with the design decisions I've made with the black bow tie keys, the black shellac, and I'm also happy with the chamfer here and the slide curve where I can rest my belly against it. Now I can't wait for this to become my desk, but in order to become a desk, it needs more. It needs a base, and I also want to have a chest of drawers on top of here where I can cram all my stuff so the desk will not get filled with clutter. I will link you the other videos for the desk series as soon as they're out in a playlist. The best way to support what I do is to go to my store and pick up a shooting board or a Kumiko starter kit. If you decide to do so, thank you very much. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe and you won't miss the other videos about the desk series. Now, see you in the next one.